Welcome, travelers, to High Fantasy. I'm Brett. I clapped and I shouldn't have clapped. You got me clapping. I need my herb pouch. Daddy's been paying for my salt.
This
I'm part of the poop patrol, ma'am.
And I'm Emily. But I'm like, don't make the robots.
Don't make the robots crunch.
I would take Speak with Dinosaur in a second. I have beef with DC. It's a thing. It's a whole thing.
Join us on our epic world-spanning adventures. Armed with only a bit of Longbottom Leaf, we will delve into some of the most amazing worlds of imagination that have ever existed. Before we get into that, don't forget to check out our Patreon if you want to support the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it.
You can clap.
You can.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Hello.
This is going to be officially episode 2. This is going to be High Fantasy.
We found a name.
We found a name, everyone.
There was always a name for you guys, but in the last episodes we didn't have a name, so now we have a name.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all going to sound like way smooth and stuff after we're done, but until then, yes, this is High Fantasy. So today, we're going to be discussing how fantasy is kind of romanticized in a lot of media, how it's very interesting and very cool, but I also kind of want to get down to the nitty-gritty of some of the fantasy stuff, because I think there's a lot of really cool media that could be produced over that. Okay. All right. So, yes, I'm Brett.
I'm Emily.
And this is episode 2 of High Fantasy. Let's get into it. So the first, I think, topic that I had was cooking in fantasy. So what are some ways that we can implement cooking in fantasy to make it interesting? Now, I'm going to, before you answer, for like the viewers and kind of also for you.
Please for me, I'm confused.
I've been a gamer in a lot of ways. I've played tabletop role-playing games. I've played video games. I really love games in general. They're a great escape. It's a great way to kind of just get your mind on something else if you're not in a great place. Lots of reasons to play video games. Super fun. But cooking, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, if we think about cooking in video games like World of Warcraft, the benefit there is that you can create foods that increase stats for a limited amount of time. Or games like Zelda Breath of the Wild, right? Mm-hmm. That's very much kind of the same ideology where you gather the ingredients like, let's say, boar meat and lettuce and tomatoes, and you put them all in a pot and you cook them. And in like 2 seconds, you have this really ridiculously delicious meal, right? That increases your stats. Okay. And also restores health most of the time in video games. Mm-hmm. But most of the time there has to be an incentive, right? Yeah. So with cooking in games like D&D, there's no, I guess, grid set up there or pattern set up to give you benefits. Right. And because there's no benefit to it, it's very commonly dismissed or forgotten. Because, why do you care about eating a steak, like a green dragon steak, when you get no benefit out of it? So you might as well just be eating, like, trail rations, right?
I feel like it is done, but it truly is done as flavor. Of, like, my character likes to cook, and that'll pop up occasionally, but there's never really, like, a benefit for it most of the time.
Exactly. And since there's not a benefit for it, it's so easily overlooked, especially by players who are looking at a full stat grid the entire time. Like, they're looking at their ability scores, and they're looking at what they can do. And magic items, right? Like, who would want a healing potion that didn't heal you? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, no one would care about potions if there wasn't a benefit to it. Right. If it was just like a fizzy soft drink, no one would give two shits. So, I think, like, what are some cool ways that you would think of to implement cooking in a video, or in like, D&D? From like video games or...
I mean, I feel like one way, and this is kind of like the, I guess, cliche obvious answer, is you could sell it.
Ooh.
Open up like a food truck.
I wouldn't say that was a cliche obvious answer at all. I didn't think about that, like, from gaining gold.
I don't know. Because it's like you could open up, you could be like a traveling foodsman. So when you go to a new town to find, like, whatever mission you're on, you can just set up a little pop-up
Okay.
to like earn gold.
That's really cool. Like a rolling food cart.
Yeah, yeah. Think
Yeah.
of like the traveling merchants who like their entire they have like a massive backpack that kind of like opens up into their little shop. That, but for a food stand.
I love that so much. Like, obviously, the way that I've always seen it implemented is its stats, right? It's either this is how you heal, because look at like Skyrim, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is you have like basic food and stuff you can cook, and that restores health. And everybody's seen like the memes and the jokes where like the Dragonborn stops time to eat like 10 wheels of cheese to restore health because he forgot a healing potion. Like, but obviously, that's not doable in combat, right? Like, you can't have a meal that restores health that's, like, combat ready, because that's a 6-second turn in Dungeons and Dragons. So I think that's a really smart way to implement it, so it's actually something that could be really cool, and you could even work with your players to come up with new menu items,
Right.
and, like, the price of spices and stuff like that. That could be a really cool,
like,
fun...
One thing that we've been watching lately is the vending machine.
Yeah.
Both delicious in Dungeon, but the time I got reincarnated as a vending machine, fever dream of a show. But truly, a lot of the times, like, he'll change, like, the different things that he gives to people that he just always has in stock. And he's constantly making money. And, like, theoretically, you could implement an XP system where it's like, okay, for this much gold earned, you can earn this much XP towards leveling faster.
Okay. I love that. That's a really cool... Because there's even, like, there's cooking utensils. Like, you can be a cook in D&D. They have it thought out and stuff, and you can even get, like, double proficiency for cooking checks. Just like Tinker's Tools, or, like, you could be a blacksmith. You can be all these things in D&D. But some of them... I think most of the time when we think of high fantasy, we think of, like, the forces of good versus the forces of evil.
Right.
And elves and dwarves and all this stuff, like, fighting blah, 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 like Sauron.
Even then, they had lembas bread.
They did have lembas bread. But once again, that's so, like...
Yeah.
It was thrown to the side so much, because it's like, oh yeah, like, one tiny bite of this will fill a grown man's stomach, and then hobbits are sitting there just gobbling down like 4 or 5 of full things at a time, and it's like, okay, well, that sounds like a shitty magic item. Like, that sounds like shitty magic food, if I'm being honest. If it's like, oh yeah, that's really cool, like, I can have this trail ration, and it takes up like a square of my backpack, and it will last me for days, and then hobbits are like, not really, though. Which I always wanted to know, is it because hobbits eat more? Or is it because elves eat very little?
I think it's...
Because they never really talk about the elven, like, diets, I guess.
I think it's just because the hobbits are the way the hobbits are. Like, they were probably full and just kept eating anyways. Because that's what hobbits do. They get full and then they keep eating. That's why I am a hobbit.
That's funny. Alright. So... I thought it might be really cool. So in D&D, you have hit dice, right?
Yeah.
What if sitting down and eating like a good meal either gave you back hit dice or allowed you to heal your hit dice without spending hit dice? But you have to have time associated to it. So it's something you could do during a short rest, right?
Right,
you
but
sit
if
down
you
and
don't
have a
need
snack.
to spend the hit dice then, you can just basically save it for later.
So it gives you a way to heal that's not magically based.
No, I like that.
And there is still a resource that you have to drain because you have to be eating good food. Like,
right, because sometimes you take your short rest to get spell slots back, but you're not damaged. And then in the middle of the fight, you're like, I really fucking wish I had a D10 I could add to my to my health right now. No, I like that lots.
And that's not even including, like, the very obvious make it increase stats, right?
Yeah. You can make it increase stats. You could also give it, like, we've given it, like...
Temp hit points.
Temp hit points, proficiencies in something for so long amount of time, you know? Advantage on these type of checks for this long. So, like, resistance to this for that long.
Because in a world where you can have magic, right? Like, you've got to have some kind of really cool... Like, why can't magic be in cooking, too? Why can't you use cooking to make, like, temporary enchantments or... the innate magical abilities of whatever you are cooking, like,
monsters.
Once again, like monsters, dragons. Like, if you cook a blue dragon, why would you not get resistance to lightning?
Right.
Like, if you cook a blue dragon, why would you not get resistance to lightning?
Right. makes sense.
I think it would be really cool to, like, find a way to implement that in D&D more often.
No, I agree. Because there has to be a streamlined way to do it. Because obviously you can come up with a lot of stuff and you can make giant charts and stuff for it, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be something extra that's going to be a question. If you think of every monster in the world to be like, yeah, this would do this thing, and this would do this thing, and this would do this thing. And then you find an obscure homebrew monster that you're like, yes, I love this. And you forget to stat the food item for it, and at the end of the fight, everybody's like, so, what magical food item can we get?
That's fair.
Like,
that's a fair point, too,
so,
to make.
it's a little, I feel like...
There'd be a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, come out with a supplement. Like a full book. Like, come out with a full book.
I mean, I love it. I would buy it.
That would be amazing. Could you oh my gosh. Wizards of the Coast, you're welcome. You're welcome for this amazing millions of dollars worth idea, I guess.
Copyright this idea right now.
Copyright.
That's how that
TM.
works, right?
Yeah, TM. You just
this is
trademarked.
I know how law things work.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. But yeah, like, that would be so cool. And I bet there are, like, little ones that people have made, but I'm talking about, like, a bunch of people need to work on this project with the money to, like, really release a polished idea instead of it. And
we could do it by ourselves.
If Wizards of the Coast came out with one, it would be official canon. Like, the problem with coming out with supplements is, like, if you don't have Wizards of the Coast permission, it's not considered...
It's Wizards of the Coast. They're not a great company.
It's fair.
It's fine.
Yeah, which is why I do so much homebrewing and stuff. It's just like,
we love them for inventing D&D, but...
Yeah.
Also, fuck you. I mean, we have no official opinions.
And then, obviously, like, coming up with different stats for the food, because that's something you don't want to do just on the fly as a DM. You don't want to be like, okay, the ice dragon gives you cold resistance, and also you do an extra d4 of cold damage with every attack for the next. Oh, that'd be so cool. Could you imagine a monk going in with, like, an extra d4 of cold damage to their unarmed strikes because they ate a white dragon steak? Oh, that'd be so cool.
Oh my gosh. Any class that has just, like, a rogue with a flame weapon that also does.
But yeah, I like the idea that it just makes your skin cold.
Yep.
Like, but you're not, so it's like, you get the unarmed strikes from the monk in there, and it's just like cold punch.
Cold punch.
Cold punch, cold punch,
I
cold
love
punch.
it.
Anyway, or maybe even just change the damage type to cold. That'd be cool. Anyway.
I like extra cold damage.
Yeah.
I like the more damage. I like that one better. Please, and thank you, please.
I think another thing that obviously, and we're gonna get more into this later, I promise. Because I think this really does bear going into, especially in today's society. So a lot of the times we didn't talk about things that slowed down missions, right? Unless there was a story element to it. So if a character was going to go into a kitchen to, like, grab a late night snack, it wasn't an emphasis on what he was grabbing. It was an emphasis on the fact that he was about to meet one of his party members down there, and they were about to have this crazy conversation. It was not just about him going to the kitchen to get food. Because that wastes time. People, a lot of the times, were like, I'm here for the action, I'm here for the adventure, I'm not here for a deep explanation of what this guy's getting as a midnight snack.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true, like, all the time for fantasy. We skip a lot of things like that for the main characters. But I think when you think about fantasy cooking, right, like, in video games, it's almost instant gratification. Which is crazy because, like, obviously as a cook yourself, you know it's not as simple as throwing all of these ingredients into a pot and it comes out looking perfect. That's not how cooking works. Like, you have to go through the steps to prepare the ingredients to create a dish.
I wish it was that way.
Right?
Cool.
Oh, so many more people would cook if it was.
There are, like, modern conveniences do really let you do that, like, because you can get frozen vegetables and peas and, you know. But if you're out on an adventure in the middle of a field, you know, you're not going to have a can of corn.
Exactly.
You're going to have a head of corn.
Yep,
So,
like an ear.
Exactly. So it's a very different. It looks very different because you're not going to have the modern conveniences that we do have nowadays. Because nowadays you could do that, but it's going to be very hard to do that on an adventure.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also like when I say instant gratification, I mean in Zelda you can throw like 10 items together in a big pot, and it takes you like, I'm not even kidding, maybe 5 to 10 seconds to cook that food, and you come up with like.
That would be so nice.
And it comes out like looking perfect too, like the presentation.
Because I was thinking more of a like you would actually be like in like anime thing, not video game thing. Because it's truly you just throw an entire apple into a thing, don't chop it, don't peel it. That'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of more of what I was talking about. Is like in video games we don't have to see. Now some video games have increased mechanics, right?
Yeah.
But when you're playing a video game, you don't want that. But I would argue that in D&D, we have hit a point, or not even just Dungeons and Dragons, I'm talking tabletop role-playing games in general. This includes like high fantasy, cyberpunk, all that fun stuff. I think we've reached a point in those games that we're playing for a narrative reason, not just for a combat reason, that having more moments where we show things like, I don't just throw it into a pot, like have to clean the meat, like have to, separate.
You know what? I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one.
Okay.
I think video games could very much use that. Because that is a very cozy game. I am telling you, that is a game. And I know these types of games exist. It's the same thing as like the Harvest games. It's like Stardew Valley. It's like, you're building, you're like building something. So you'd be like building the meal, and then you'd get the cutscenes and this really cute cottagecore aesthetic, like little field where you're like eating it in like a covered patio, and there's flowers everywhere, and like there's little petals flying through the wind. There's like a little pond off in the distance where ducks are flying across the surface of the pond.
Really created a narrative.
Like this is
so good.
And then, like, it goes on to this cutscene of, like, this woman falling in love with somebody else.
Oh, wow.
But they're betrothed to a different person. One of those, like, spicy games. And then it cuts to a scene of her cooking in the kitchen.
I will... We're gonna leave that. I will fully admit you do have a point, and I was wrong to a point. I think that there are some games that would be great for, especially if it's literally meant for the aesthetic.
Right.
But a lot of the times, like if I'm playing World of Warcraft, I don't want to have to sit there and go through 10 steps to prepare this meal. I want to just cook it, get the food, and get the fuck out.
That'd be my favorite part of the game. The only reason I'd go adventure in those games is to gather ingredients. And then I would come back and I would spend like an hour cooking. It's just like imagine just like clicking on the mouse button and just like moving it, like chop, like your vegetables, and then you do your meats last because you want to be sanitary. And then you saute the meat, get a nice like sear on it, throw in those vegetables. Yeah, I think that would be an incredible mini game in a larger adventure world type of game. So you can adventure if you want to, and then the weird cook can stay behind and cook for everybody in the guild.
The weird cook. That's so funny because I was always the one with my cooking maxed out. So was I the weird gremlin cook?
No, because there wasn't a 10-step process. I'm saying I would be the weird person who cooks because I would only want to do the 10-step process and none of the adventuring.
That's fair. It was literally already enough of a chore that people didn't want to do it. Like, people would not max out or get their cooking up at all. And then you'd have my happy ass over here dropping, like, full feasts for people that gave better stats. And they're like, oh, it's so useful. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's really useful. And none of you fuckers got your skills up other than me.
Here's the thing, is if it's framed like the way it is in WoW already, which I'm assuming is framed as, like, you put the stuff in the pot and then you have to wait 30 seconds while standing there and doing nothing. Yeah, I would hate that. That's the worst. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about interactive puzzles where you have to take the knife and you have to, like, chop it with the mouse. And then you have to, like, stir the pot. Interactive puzzles. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Oh, I fully get you. I fully get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, if it's already enough of a pain that people don't increase the skill when it's as easy as it is, imagine.
I would be 0 in everything else, but 1,000 in cooking.
Well, it's really cool because in World of Warcraft, you actually have different cooking methods that you can increase.
Oh, I'm gonna get them all, baby.
And there was like every time an expansion came out, there was like Pandarian cooking. And there was like every time an expansion came out, there was like Pandarian cooking, which was obviously very Asian influenced. So there's a lot of like stuff with Asian cuisine.
I'm obsessed. Obsessed.
But to kind of, I think, finish this first little segment of it, I think I would end with saying that, like, cooking could be put into tabletop role-playing games with a lot of really fun ideas behind it. So, like, quests. What if you had a quest that was like, okay, go kill 5 deer and bring me back some venison.
Okay.
And then the players would get their reward from that. But you could also say that the person who gave them the quest as part of the reward fixes them a meal with the venison.
Okay.
And so you could do this really cool description scene where it's like they still got money, they still got a reward, right?
Right.
They got to go out and get experience by killing. I mean, deer wouldn't be worth a lot, but it could be get me some
Their
bear meat.
dire beer.
Yeah.
Dire beer. Why did I say beer? I meant deer. Dire deer.
Dire deer.
Why did I say dire beer?
Murderous.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like that could be a really cool, because that would give you a reason to give a description of what the farmer made them, right?
Oh, 1000%. That'd be a great way to incorporate it.
I think another way to kind of do something cool is that might be the only thing that the players start with. Because if you think about it, like, these level 1 characters, generally, are starting out in places where they're not having people give them hundreds of gold to do quests.
And that would be a very good soft intro, because oftentimes at level 1, especially in 5th edition, you put a player into a combat situation, it's fucking scary. Like, the chances of a player character actually dying are high. so high.
Especially level 1.
And if you want to kind of avoid that, a very easy way to give them XP is sending them on the deer hunting mission, where this isn't meant to be super dangerous, it's meant to be more of a skill challenge.
That's a good point. You can still flavor it in the way that it is combat, like make them roll attacks and try and hit the deer's AC.
On the deer's turns, they run away, and you have to keep track of them on your turns. Like, it can very easily like be a intense situation, like an intense intro, without it being scary to the point of like my character that I just made and I'm just starting to learn and love might actually die.
Yeah, to a house cat.
Exactly.
Good job, Wizards of the Coast. Good job. Anyway. I think that could be a really fun quest for low-level adventurers, where it's like, hey, you got tasked by the local butcher of your tiny town that you start in because you're level 1. And then they're like, if you go get me this many rabbits,
right,
I'll give you this much rabbit food, or I'll make you jerky, or I'll do whatever else with it. So basically the reward isn't money, the reward is food, because you can't afford food at low levels. Like, you know how cool it would be to not have to buy food instead of just like, so you can finally like hoard up your gold to afford a set of plate mail armor or something? Like, you don't just do things for a whole bunch of money at low level, I guess, is where I'm getting at. So food could be a great introduction to that.
Yeah, 1000%. Especially if you had, like, you were focusing the campaign more on, like, doing that. Because a lot of times campaigns can, like, be like, here's this super cool magic thing at really low levels. Doesn't really make much sense how you bought that, with the amount of gold that you have.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and say that it's fine, you know? So it really, like, especially if you flavor it more of, like, this is realistic. You're low level and you're, like, starting with shit.
Now, kind of moving on, a few of these topics are a little bit, we have to kind of come up with an answer for it.
Okay.
And others are just, this is kind of an interesting topic. So we already talked about, like, foods and, like, implementing cooking in more interesting ways in games.
Yeah.
So I think something here is fantasy jobs and how different it looks from our jobs.
Okay.
So, like, let's say a plumber, right? Like a
Mhm.
plumber in a fantasy world, especially high fantasy like Dungeons and Dragons, um, a lot of monsters dwell in the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
And monsters are always looking to, like, move into those dark, cavernous areas. So I think being a plumber looks vastly different in fantasy than what it is.
Being a plumber is like being a monster hunter.
Pretty much.
And
That could be a cool campaign.
The plumbing issue. It's a Mario Brothers spinoff.
Or
Mario.
That's either a really cool NPC that needs to be introduced, is like, for some reason the party needs to go into the sewers, they need a guide, and like their plumber shows up and he's decked out in armar with like a sword and
wearing
shit.
a red hat.
Yeah, and he's like part of the poop patrol, ma'am. Like, what? Oh my gosh.
Mario, this is my brother Luigi.
This is my brother Luigi.
Come on, we'll get you through it.
Come on, we'll get you where you needed to go.
We'll get you where you need to go. Like Mario has like a cigarette in his mouth that he just like throws on the ground.
Oh my god.
Luigi definitely has 2 Tommy guns under a trench coat.
Holy shit. They shoot toad-shaped bullets.
Yeah.
Oh, dumb.
And they're both
dumb.
ripped. These are like
Dumb.
daddy.
Daddy. Oh, how many people said that about Mario and Luigi?
Don't
roll 30 for it. Don't roll 30 for
it.
Anyway, so
my bad. Did I get off topic?
So that was like my first one that I did there, which is just throwing out a job and being like, that would look way different in fantasy. So here's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna do 3 and you're gonna do 3.
Okay, I got this.
If you need me to do another one, I can. Just keep in mind you'll have to do 2.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let me think. So you had plumber. Okay, let me.
And it's basically like, I guess cop would translate to guard, right?
Yeah,
so I
those
think
are easy ones. I'm trying to go for like obscure. Therapist.
A fantasy. Oh,
what would a fantasy therapist look like?
Oh my gosh! Because people die and come back in fantasy, and there's
like,
all
there's
those monsters constantly trying to kill people.
Like, living is traumatic. So what does a fantasy therapist look like? I feel like they're like hard. Like, I feel like these are badass people. Like, these are not like.
You think they're clerics? Like, if we had to assign a class to them, you think like cleric?
No. I don't. Maybe the clerics wise. I'm almost thinking bard.
Okay. Oh, what would the inspiration look like? Like if a fantasy therapist bard were to give you inspiration, would it be like, I just want you. No. Hold on, I got one, and then I'll let you run with this. I'm so proud of you, Timmy, for finally overcoming all of those parental issues that you had to deal with. And I just want you to know that all that hard work is paid off, and I see and value you as a person. Therapist. Inspiration.
See, I feel like I really would love to invest in a fantasy world that assigns a therapist bard to different groups of adventuring parties.
That's how they join the party? Is there a assigned therapist? Oh my god!
And the parties always hate them so much because they're fucking narcs. They're narcs every time. But that's how therapy works. And it's really for their own good, and they do in the end up like resolving their issues a lot, and like the group therapist really becomes ingratiated into the party, and they're like a real member, and they're very respected by the end of it. But at first it's like, this fucking narc.
I like to think that the bard doesn't heal people unless they make progress on their therapy. So what it would be like is they're almost on death saving throws, and they're like, hey, bard, I need you to heal me. And they just like look at them and it's like, I don't know, Paladin. You were being pretty regressive last session.
And I don't even think... I think it's any, like, wisdom/charisma heavy class. So, like, bard, sorcerer, cleric, druid. Like, any, like, wisdom or charisma, you know, emphasis.
I now love the idea of the sorcerer being like, alright guys, that's a really big group of people coming towards us, and a fireball would be really handy. But Steve, last session we said some really hurtful words, right? It was really not, like, great towards us. I think we need to address that really quick before you get a fireball.
I don't think you've earned a fireball
I don't
yet.
think you've earned a fireball. I can do a flame bolt at best. Okay? Maybe a burning hands if you really try and say you're sorry and you promise me that we'll work on this later.
I love
it. But I need to believe it, Steve. I need to believe that you're willing to make active changes here.
Shit.
And then you'll get a burning hands. But if you can help me in this one little moment, work through this, and we can find a resolution to it,
I think
you'll get a fireball.
I think we nailed it. I think that's what that profession looks like in the fantasy world.
I love that. Yeah, that is really cool. So, I've got a really fun one that I think.
Okay.
And it's kind of a broad spectrum, but I think it works. Merchant. All right? So, what's that translate to? Vendor. Anybody who sells stuff, right? Now, you could view this job as from either the perspective of, like, someone who has to buy and sell a bunch of goods, or you could kind of put this to the small town, I make orders from this big company kind of thing, and they ship me stuff every now and then. Now, in fantasy.
Here we go. In fantasy.
He's got all these supply routes, right? He's got all this product. He's got stuff from tailors. He's got, you know, pretty much anything but food items this guy's got. So he's sending his little fantasy caravans out. Little delivery drones, one could say, out in high fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
In our world today, you have to worry about robbers, right? You have to worry about people trying to steal your packages. You have to worry about... and people get glitter bombed, you know, where they'll, like, put the camera in there. It's like, so many people have been stealing my Amazon packages. I put a frickin' glitter bomb in it to stop that from happening. So in fantasy, you have to worry about just the exact same thing, right? Like, if you're just a caravan, there's bandit attacks. Like, people will rob your shit. You know, they'll take your stuff.
So what does the security for that look like?
No, I'm talking about even more, and then we'll get into that, but close.
I'm very confused where the road is going, but I'm here. I'm here for the ride.
So I think you're right. Like, it will end with security, but bandits aren't just the only problem in a fantasy world.
Okay, look, so immediately...
Dragons!
Well, here's the thing. Immediately you said that subject, and I'm like, if this is, like, corporate America level, like... These are the people of the fantasy world who are running shit, and, like, it's on top. They're everywhere, and they're everything.
Mm-hmm.
These guys got dragon riders for delivery systems.
Oh, damn.
Like, they're in the skies. They are delivering. Was my first thought process if we were converting that system into fantasy system.
I just got... Is that, like, a big bad evil guy of a campaign?
Yes, it is.
It's just a huge volcano and dragons are flying in and out of it all the fucking time.
We're gonna bleep out the name that was associated. We're gonna, like, we'll dub over it with somebody else's name.
Yeah.
So nobody tries to sue us.
It'll be fine.
Cliff Mayhoe.
That'll be the name.
The corporate overlord
yeah.
of this fantasy world. And if that is anybody's real name in real life, I apologize.
But yeah. So I would say, like, I guess just being a delivery person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because how do people get their orders to you? Is it delivered by frickin' owl? Or, like, falcon?
I mean, you know? I feel like there's a lot of different ways, because there is the spell Animal Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, sends an animal with a message, basically. And so, like, I could see you flavoring that to be actually, like, delivery systems. I could also see, like, by horse, like, there's, like, a postal system. Like, that was a thing that happened for a while. I could see, like,
Yeah, like the Pony Express kind of idea.
Like just train
and that's
birds.
not even including, like you were saying, the magic in the beginning.
Right, exactly.
Or it's like people could use a minor teleport to teleport like a list to a location.
Right.
A lot of fun stuff like that. But yeah. So I think we kind of covered what being a like fantasy distributor in a fantasy world would look like.
That was my turn. What would a fantasy zoo look like?
Ooh. And they would be like, you can't cage these beautiful mythical creatures. You can't. That unicorn is free.
Even on the like really cool sanctuaries that like it feels like they take really good care of them.
Yeah, you know that
it would still be a problem for
show up. It's like without this sanctuary, unicorns wouldn't exist anymore because you crazy bastards hunted them to lost extinction. Like if this one goes back out into the wilds. Okay, it's dead. Like that's what
we're also gonna edit out this organization's name just to be safe. It's a Kika. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, we'll say Dota. It's Dota's mad at you.
What is? You came up with what was it? The druid in your homebrew from the Seed of Moradin?
Oh, the one who was literally... Yeah. Oh.
It was...
I literally called it fantasy...
It was like druids against...
druids against like the harm of animals. D... So druids against A... T...
No, I don't know. But
anyway, yeah, I forget exactly what it was called. Oh, anyway.
No, but there would definitely be that. I feel like it would be a lot of like fantasy, but like exotic, like fae animals.
Oh, like animals from different realms. So like the Shadowfell
would be like like the bigger ones. I feel like the smaller ones, I feel like are just gonna be like regional animals, and they have put on like little skits that bards do that like teach them about history of the area. That's what mine was like. That was my museum when we went on field trips. It was just all the, like, there was porcupines and lizards and bats. There was, like, spiders and snakes, and there was little otters. Oh, my goodness. There was one time, one of the chaperones dropped her sunglasses into the otter thing, and they were eating her sunglasses. It was adorable. But they would do like little reenactments of like, this is what it was like in pioneer times.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
It was right next to like an obsidian trail too and a bunch of caves for spelunking.
Ooh.
I went deep into this. It's a massive cave and you can only go so many months of the year because the bats move in for the other part of the year.
And they'll eat you if you go inside.
No, it's more of like you'll harm them more than they'll harm you type of thing, I think. They're like, leave the bats alone.
Let the bats sleep. This is their home, damn it. We're in a timeshare with these things? That's so funny.
We are.
Okay. So this next question is kind of interesting. Oh, I think I have one more.
Oh.
Because I did plumber, and then I did merchant.
Yeah,
so I think I have one more, and then...
Yep, you have one more, and I have one more.
People at home would have been so mad.
You said, they said 3 each!
They said 3
These motherfuckers!
Okay. I got it. Jeweler. Alright, somebody who makes jewelry.
Okay.
That looks way different when you can handle rubies that hold, like, the soul of a fire element.
Yeah. I feel like there's, like, this is, like, hardcore artificer level. I feel like there are some normal jewelers who just work with, like, the crystals of the area, whatever those are. Yeah, like
regular gold,
there are regular jewelers, but there are also some jewelers who are straight up artificer, enchanter level of, like, I hold the spirit of a fire genie in my hand.
Yeah.
Let me delicately place it into this golden ring that has inscriptions of the old language on it.
And, like, people could be like, oh, that's way too complicated. Like, no one would ever do that. I pose to you this, okay? There are people who play video games for fun that enjoy it and use it as a way to, like, escape their life for a little while. And then there's people that have no life that play video games to the point that they are number 1 at something, okay? The kind of things that person can do in that video game, we as mortal humans cannot comprehend. I'm just gonna say it. Like, the people who know life a video game can get so far, and they can get so much, that it doesn't seem human. Now, we also know that people have hyperfixations.
Yeah.
That would happen in fantasy.
Yeah.
And you would have that jeweler that would just be like, okay.
They spent a year. You know what? They spent a year on a project. What the payout they get from that pays for
everything.
5 years worth of living.
For everything. Yeah, because they come up with some stupid genius invention that's like, no one thought to use this kind of item in this way,
that
and somehow
is honestly winning the fantasy game.
Yeah, because I think
straight up
they discovered like mithril filigree.
Uh-huh.
And people were like, wait, mithril doesn't bend that way. And it's like, well, after 5 years of rigorous study, I found a way to bend mithril into mithril filigree. And everybody's just losing their goddamn minds in the crowd.
Oh
just like, wow! It's so amazing!
He's an inventor!
And he's just a jeweler. But he was a jeweler with a dream, damn it! Anyway, that's a jeweler. You go.
A priest.
A priest in a fantasy world looks very different than a priest in our world.
In a fantasy world.
Oh, you clever girl! You clever girl!
Fights the evils of the realm. Who has an order of badass
paladins
and fucking clerics beneath them. And they all fight for justice of the world. Respect any decision anybody wants to make in whatever religion they want to, follow. I'm just saying it's not fighting the forces of evil. It's not, with cool swords and pretty armor.
With cool swords and pretty armor.
Nothing against, but like
I feel like
cool
there's
swords.
Somewhere there's a hard cut and it's like somewhere in the Vatican. And then it's like the Pope. And like all of the holy artifacts and stuff that they have there just kind of teeming with energy.
You're right. I'm just not important.
It's an anime. The
know.
Pope is an anime. Yeah. Anyway.
Exactly
Pope
that.
As an anime character.
Exactly that.
Oh, so stupid. Okay. I love that. That's very fair. Like, that's just a job that can't be as cool.
It can't be as cool. It
right?
cannot.
I'm almost upset that we can't do guards. You know what? We're gonna do a bonus. Guards. Because guards and cops, way different. Like, they're still in there, like, rooting out bands of thugs and bandits and stuff. And they're, like, putting an end to organized crime. But they're also, like, guarding the town from dragons. Like, that's just a thing guards are expected to do, is just be there and be able to, like...
Yeah, I feel like guards
fend off dragon attacks.
Yeah, like, I feel like guards have to deal with a lot more. But I feel like they're pretty comparable to cops in, like, a lot of ways, too.
Do you think that there's, like, a guard out there giving somebody a speeding ticket on their horse?
Yes!
Alright, Kevin.
Alright.
You know you were going exactly...
There's kids here.
There's kids here. Calm down. Calm down. Alright? You know I don't like to have to do this to you, man, but, like, you're endangering the kids.
This hurts me more than it hurts you, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, next time, we're gonna have to kneecap him.
I'm just doing my job. Alright? The whole town decided you were a witch, Gertrude. Like, this has gotta happen.
God.
I don't want to be the guy, but I gotta be the guy, you know? Like, tying her to a... Oh, no.
Jesus! When did Gertrude become...
And she wasn't even a witch? Yeah.
Oh, God.
Don't act like Salem didn't happen.
Moving on.
Was that?
No, it definitely did happen. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, guard. That was a bonus. All right.
Bonus card. Totally the same as it is today.
So here's kind of the question, I think. We have to come up with one item now.
Okay.
That is in fantasy, that would be a staple in most houses. So what's something that everybody in a fantasy world has in their house?
A dagger. That's a lie. I don't think of it. I mean, I think a lot of families have a dagger. but not like every.
That's fair.
It's a butter churner.
Oh, it's a butter churner. That's the magical item. It churns the butter.
No, so because that's interesting. It would be like.
And when I say that, I was kind of meaning like a magical item.
Right.
That you would think would be like a staple in most people's houses, like sending stones. Because if you don't have a phone, like sending stones could work, but that's only to one person. More like walkie-talkies at that point. But like something that you feel like would be something that every common person would want. I bet I know what it is. Bag of holding.
Yeah.
A bag of holding would be amazing for anyone.
Yep. I agree.
Like, imagine...
That's, like, the go-to.
That would be a portable storage unit that you could carry around that weighed a pound. That's nuts.
That's a really smart one. And it's, like, something that not everybody could probably afford, but everybody achieves to afford, you know?
Yeah, like a well-off middle-class family in a fantasy world has a bag of holding.
Yeah. Yep, I can see it.
Because they saved up. And then you get them, like, passed down as... I don't know, family heirlooms, I guess.
Yeah, yep, I like that. Nope, that's smart.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, you said dagger, and I said bag of holding.
Yeah, I think, yeah. It's hard because, like, it's presented so much that magic items are really expensive and it's not something common. Like, there are high magic worlds, though, you know? Like, where you're playing in a world where it's not uncommon for most people to have a magic item.
Well, I mean, like, a single healing potion costs 50 gold. And the idea, and for those of you who don't know, here's a fun little fact. The idea in Dungeons & Dragons 5e is if you work well as an artisan, like a blacksmith or a tailor, and you're like a really good tailor, you make about a gold worth of profit a day. That's after covering your expenses and everything, so that is a gold that you just get to keep. It's not, 9 silver and a whole bunch of copper. That's better than that. So, you would have to work 50 days without spending any money on anything else, really? To afford a basic healing potion.
Like, that's doable. But, well, at the same time, it's not, though, because you'd have to save your entire profit. How would you make food?
So 100 days, say.
Yeah.
So if you kind of double the amount of days, I guess, that would account for any other, like, because the other was accounting for, like, expenses at your business.
Yeah.
That would be accounting for expenses as a person, which is, like, you have to feed yourself. You have to afford your rent.
But again, that's totally doable. But, like, 100 days for one healing potion.
Yep.
It's like, it would really have to be a magic item that made it count. And I think a bag of holding is a great one. Because, like, something that we've discussed just personally with friend groups and stuff is, like, a bag of holding technically is, like, airtight portal dimension space.
Yep.
So, theoretically, food would be preserved longer in there.
That's a good point. Yes,
remember we were talking about because our Crow has an alligator. Crow in one of our campaigns, it's one of our little stabby rogue murder hobo, has an alligator in a bag of holding. They are a collector of all of the trinkets.
Yes.
And so we were trying to determine whether it was goop or not. Because technically it's an airtight space. But every time you open it, it's technically letting air in. But, so it's the conversation of how long would food stay good inside of a bag of holding. Because that would give it even more of a use than just a storage space.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you think that there's someone who owns a bunch of bags of holding that people rent?
I could see it.
Like storage units?
I could see it.
And then they come and they're like, hey, Steve, I gotta get that broadsword I left in the bag of holding the other month. And the guy's like, yeah, of course, Jimmy. And he just, like, hands him his bag.
That's actually a really smart business model.
Got a little tag on it, like, tag 53. And he shows it to him. The guy pulls his greatsword out and is like, all right, see you next week, Steve.
I think that's exactly how it works, honestly.
I like it. That's really funny. Just like fantasy storage units, I guess. Like imagine Storage Wars,
Yeah.
and
Like
it's
you
just like, so
flip out.
am I auctioning for the bag and the contents, or am I just getting the contents? The guy's like, you're not getting my bag of holding, dude.
No,
Like,
that's not how this works.
fuck off there. You get whatever this dude left in it.
And you have no clue what's in there unless you want to go in and find out.
Because, like, adventurers and stuff have to die all the time.
Uh-huh.
I guess that would be...
Wow.
That would be a really crazy job title as well that just doesn't really exist in today's society, which would be adventurer.
Uh-huh.
Like, adventurer isn't something that you generally make money at unless it's like you're discovering new stuff or whatever.
I guess you could technically say like mercenary or like spy or like FBI agent, but we don't know if that's just in the spy movies or if that's in real life. I want to think that's in real life because that's kind of hot.
Yeah.
But truly and utterly at the end of the day, I don't know if those things look like they do in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
What does a covert spy mission look like? I think they happen, but what does it look like? Because I just seen it in the movie. Where's the documentary? Show me the documentary. There's probably a documentary out there that I just haven't found that is exactly about that, but what do I know?
Alright. So our next question, before we get to our last one. Would life be better in a fantasy world than in ours if they were smart about it? So the way I say that is like, a lot of times in especially new fantasy media, we see people putting up like these really cool walls, and then they reinforce it with this like random druid spell, and there's a lot of conveniences that can also be duplicated from our world in a fantasy world.
Here's what I'm going to say about it. Being smart about it or not, fantasy world's gonna be better.
Okay.
Trust me, I know there's a lot of downsides. So many downsides. But like, can you imagine the cost of a little cottage? Like, we could have a little farm and some property. And yeah, we would have to defend it from raids of, like, monsters and stuff coming from the forest every once in a while. But we can do that together because we train and we're strong, okay? And we built this life and we're gonna defend
it. I love how in your fantasy world, you're just a badass farmer.
Yeah, I don't want to adventure. No, thank you. I'm gonna stay at home and cook. And if somebody tries to stamp on my carrots, I'm gonna stamp on their face.
Oh my goodness. Some people in the comments actively stepping on your carrots.
Look, I just think that would be very... I know that there's so many more conveniences of the modern world, but wouldn't that
Internet,
just be like...
technology,
just work a simple life and just... Oh, yes.
Like, imagine not having Spotify.
You would learn to play the fiddle real quick.
No, I think Jeb goes and he learns the banjo. And he just plays in the town
We'd
square.
have a family band! We would have a family band! You and I could sing, and I could play a lute.
I could play a lute.
We would sing only 2000s hits.
Oh, God.
So I got the apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. Looking at her. I'm just saying. It is a vibe, and we would bring music culture
to the cultureless. To the cultureless masses of the fantasy world, we would bring culture. And it's apple bottom jeans, baby.
Just saying.
Oh, that fantasy world is fucked if we get there. Okay, fantastic. I agree. I think, because a lot of the times we have to have escapism in our everyday lives because the world isn't as easy as it used to be. And I think that there's a lot of times that we can I mean, it used to be playing D&D or playing, like, tabletop games in general was considered something to be, like, socially shunned for.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I think that's kind of, I guess, one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But people need escapism now. Is that because we didn't really have a need for it before because life was a lot better in a lot of ways.
I disagree. I feel like it just showed up in different ways.
Okay. That would be a fair, that could almost be its own episode. But either way, it's great that it's so accepted now.
Right, exactly. Like,
And
it's not...
These are questions that wouldn't have been asked,
Uh-huh.
20, 30 years ago.
Right.
Because the thought of even doing, fantasy roleplay games or any, tabletop roleplay games in general was that there was, a social faux pas against it. It wasn't considered cool or interesting to play those games,
Mm-hmm.
and so people enjoyed it, but it was kind of like a guilty pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
almost of oh yeah, I like this, but I don't talk about it because nobody wants to know the fact that I play D&D. All right, if I say that, I'm about to be a social pariah. And that's because a lot of people picture Jimmy from Class of 09
Mm-hmm.
when they think of stereotypical nerd, and it's not great. It's not a great image that it evokes. But now, nerd is synonymous to Henry Cavill.
Really quickly, that is a super obscure reference. Is there a different nerd that we can point out? Napoleon Dynamite?
Napoleon Dynamite's a good one.
Okay. That was just a very obscure reference.
The main character from Revenge of the Nerds was a great experience there. Just people, I think, expect that whiny, whimpery little
glasses constantly.
Yeah, let me tell you about my current fantasy fiction.
And
it's okay.
listen to you or anything that you are talking about.
Yeah, just doesn't really care. But yeah, I think that's kind of the picture of a lot of it, and we don't get that anymore, which is cool.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
We have
truly.
jocks and stuff like Henry Cavill. Anyway,
we're just gonna keep saying it. Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill.
He's
He is Superman. He is Superman. Right. He is.
When you get
more importantly, The Witcher, because
Geralt from Rivia.
Geralt from Rivia is much higher on the rating scale than Superman.
That's fair. That's fair. Either way, we have Geralt backing the fandom, so. Just saying, can't be that bad. And the last thing that I kind of have here is 5 everyday items that could be really cool with a fantasy twist. Now, this is different than the last question.
Okay.
Because this is more of if you think about a candle in today's life.
Uh-huh.
What if you had a magic candle that lit every time you snapped your fingers?
Like the clap lights?
Yeah, but a candle.
I want the candle to be able to change color flames.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be really cool.
And play a soft melody.
And these are just I think things that would be so inexpensive magically that they're a minor.
Yeah, this is prestidigitation. A massager that is just small vibrations through a couple of smooth stones.
That would be really funny.
It's like a druid thing.
It would be very funny. Oh goodness. Would it be a self-cooling pillow?
It would. It really would.
There's going to be so many people in the comments that are just going to tear us to pieces for these questions, by the way.
warming blanket. No, they're just going to come up with better answers than
way better. Way better. They're going to be are you stupid?
They're not going to say it. They're just going to think it.
Yeah.
We have nice followers.
That's fair. We do have nice followers. It's not going to be the ones that are just
they're going to think it.
You had the option to have fantasy items and you chose a snap-on candle?
What about socks that never slipped down on your feet?
Oh, that'd be really nice.
Self-tying shoes.
Okay. I hear Nike's working on that. It's self-velcroing. You step into it.
I don't like it.
Velcro on. Let's see. Wow, just a minor enchantment. So hard. Ooh. A cup that kept drinks cold.
That's very smart.
Boom. That's the best one. It's just by far the best option. Is a constantly cooling drink mug that will just keep your liquids cold without having to dilute them with ice. Just
a hair tie that never lets your hair fall out messily.
Oh,
like
okay, you're coming up from the rear with that one.
Keeps your hair up and out of your face, and it never has any fallout or anything like that. It just constantly stays perfect, and it doesn't hurt your head.
That would be really cool.
I'm just thinking of all the things that affect my day-to-day life that suck, and I'm like making a magic item to fix it.
That's fair. That would be really neat to have those. What about, so here's kind of a fun, once again, just random tidbit that leads up to why I'm saying this. In 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons, a lot of magic items that you found would immediately resize themselves to the new owner. So if you found a set of armor on a minotaur that was a large creature, if you grabbed it, it shrunk to be your size as a gnome. That was just a common factor of magic, I guess, magic items in 4th edition that didn't transfer to 5th.
I thought it did.
It does because I do it. That's a homebrew rule for me.
Oh, I thought I've seen them do it in Critical... I could be very wrong, but I feel like I've seen them do it in Critical Role.
Oh, they probably have.
So that's why I was like, oh.
Because I bet Matt probably had the same idea. It's like, this is stupid.
Is dumb.
It's really stupid that you can't use this really cool armor that the Cloud Giant had on him because you're medium and he was huge.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Kind of a fun little bit there.
Interesting reaction.
But what about a ring that always changed its size to fit you perfectly?
I love it.
Because I feel like it's a very minor enchantment. Like, all these other items just automatically did that as a feature.
And your fingers swell. So it's like, if you're swelling, then it fits so it's comfortable on you.
Yeah.
And if you're not, it shrinks down so it doesn't fall off.
That could be really cool.
That'd be very convenient.
Let's do one more.
One more? Okay.
I think we did 5. This will probably be the bonus, or this will be the
self-stirring spoon.
A self what? Stirring spoon. Oh, that would be really neat.
That'd be so nice.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be so nice.
Mm-hmm. Because it could even maybe even change size a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you could use it as a baking spoon, or you could use it as a teaspoon.
It could be a whisk.
Whisk.
Whiskey business.
Yeah, where's the Cobb Copper Spoon magic item, everybody, that just turns into whatever freaking cooking utensil you need? So good. That would be a legendary item. That would be so good.
Alright, are we signing off?
Yeah, that was the final question there. So, next time, I think we're going to start getting into various other fandoms.
Hell.
Let us know in the comments which one you would want to see most, be it Magic the Gathering, and we'll start kind of going into topics about those subjects for a little while.
Yes, we will.
Maybe 1, maybe 2 episodes, depending on how we feel about the fandom.
We feel.
Yeah, depending on how interested I guess we are in the fandom, we'll do 1 or 2.